All right, that's it. Truth time. Oilers fans, I'm coming in on it. If you need a safe space or you need someone to pump your tires to tell you everything's okay, this is not going to be the video for you. It doesn't mean Edmonton isn't going to come back next series, and it doesn't mean you should come back here and go, hey, that aged well, right? But we're going to talk in reality about the Edmonton Oilers being a two-man show, because that's really what it looked like tonight. We're going to talk all about the Los Angeles Kings playing a complete team game, a veteran game, and capitalizing on mistakes. And I'm going to talk all about Mike Smith. Mike Smith had a rough night, but I'm going to talk about all these third-string goalies that are playing and why they're winning, especially Louis Domingue, when you have a goalie like Mike Smith, who for all intents and purposes is way better than Louis Domingue. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about all of it. Let's talk about this series. The LA Kings take a 3-2 lead on the Edmonton Oilers. And if you're an Oilers fan right now, you're looking at this going, How did this happen? Well, the LA Kings are one of the best teams in the NHL at generating shots on net. They may have their best player out in Drew Doughty, and I said that can cost them a series and should cost them a series, but it hasn't yet. The team chemistry and the veteran presence, especially Kopitar and Danault, have carried this team along with a couple young guys. Kempe and Iafallo are looking great. Plus, you got Anderson back there. There's a lot of good things going on for LA. They're generating good shots, but the shots they're scoring on, you're kind of going, really? That one? Or the giveaways up the middle by the Edmonton Oilers, like, really? You did that? Come on. And then you see guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, who have been quiet for McDavid and Draisaitl up until this game. I guess they heard all the criticism because they came out and, like Jordan, just dropped a whole bunch of points. So maybe get those guys mad and chirp them before the game, because it seems like when the media starts doing it, these guys show up. They take the game into their hands. They almost win it and come back. But again, Kempe at the end, a minute 12 into it, and it's just a wash, repeat, rinse, repeat formula here. So the fact that LA is up 3-2 does not surprise LA fans. It doesn't really surprise me either, even though I picked the Oilers because of the Oilers' firepower. We talked all about their transition game and what they can do. You don't score on them, they're going to go down the other end of the ice and they're going to put it in the back of the net. They score in bunches. But the trouble with this team is, and here's where you're going to get sick of it, Oilers fans, I'm sorry. Everybody outside your media market tells you your team is two players because your team is two players. Sit there. Let it sink in. I know it sucks. It doesn't feel good. They are the two best players in the world to some people. There are arguments for Gaudreau and Matthews and others, but there are many people in Edmonton and around the planet that think you have player one and player two. So when you do this well, it's like, duh. You have the two greatest players in the world, according to some hockey analysts. You should be able to do good. But when I take a look at this game in particular, and I'm only going to talk about this game. I mean, we've seen glimpses of it in the series. I see a few signs that I don't like. One, when they have to carry all the scoring, and they did in this one. That's what they're paid to do, but you need secondary scoring. You need depth. You need to have threats on all lines. Number two, Mike Smith. We all know Edmonton has a goaltending problem. You get any other goaltender in Edmonton that's in the top 20, 25, 15, I don't know. Let's go 20 of the NHL, and this team has a great chance at a cup. They didn't do it. They went with Koskinen. They went with Smith. When Smith is hot, he's the best. We talked about it in April, gave him all his props. But then I said, Smith's a roller coaster. When you're at the top of the roller coaster, things are great. When you're at the bottom, things are bad. And he's a very polarizing figure in Edmonton. Some people love him. Some people can't stand him. But here's the deal with Mike Smith team. The reason Louis Domingue is winning for the Pittsburgh Penguins is because the Pittsburgh Penguins roster, their depth from top to bottom, all of their defensemen from Crosby back is amazing. This is what happens when you have Malkin and Crosby on team-friendly deals. This is what happens when you have guys like Jake Gensel, Brian Rust, when you have Chris Letang, Dumoulin, who's not even in the lineup, Ricard Raquel, who's not even in the lineup, Jeff Carter on your third line. It just goes on and on and on for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is just depth among depth among depth. And they play a team system and they play team defense, and they have one of the best team penalty kills in the league, and they balance scoring out throughout their roster and throughout their lines. If you don't believe me, the fourth line led by Brian Boyle danced around Mika Zibanejad in the first line of the New York Rangers last game. Evan Rodriguez on their third line scored all over the place, and that is because the Pittsburgh Penguins win races to pucks. How does this affect goalies? When the puck is on your stick, when you win races to pucks, when you have line mismatches, when you are able to compete in your own zone and turn over pucks quicker than the other team, the other team doesn't get as many chances and it helps your goalie out. So is Louis Domingue amazing? No, I made an entire video on the fact that he isn't amazing, but he's having a great run because the team in front of him is playing good. How does this matter to the Edmonton Oilers? The team in front of him isn't playing good because you can't play team defense with two players. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a good player. Your center depth is good. There's a couple players there like Kane that people want to point out. I don't think Kane's as good as people think in Edmonton. He gets some points, but he is an up and down roller coaster. Great player for $1 million. He's got demons. Beat your demons. Nobody is going to convince me that Kane is anything more than a hyper-skilled person with personality challenges and things to battle in his own life. That's what Evander Kane is. Sometimes you get great contributions from him. Sometimes you don't. When you go all up and down the roster, doesn't matter if it's Derek Ryan, Warren Fogle. I compare it to some of the elite rosters in the NHL, and I did an entire video walking you through elite rosters. I said Edmonton was shallow. People got mad at me. We're not shallow. You're shallow. I can't back off of it when I see games like this. When I see players turn over the puck in their own zone to a Los Angeles King who ends up scoring, and the panic on Mike Smith's face because he's like, oh, please, not again. How could you turn that over? He just wants to win a game for you guys and prove it for you guys, but you're making it tough on him. Really, really tough on him, Edmonton. So did Mike Smith play good? No. Am I going to let him off? No. Is his team helping him? No. Is he better than Louis Domingue? Way better. Should he be doing better than Louis Domingue in the playoffs? Oh, yeah. Did Carolina play a third-string goalie? Yup. Did they do better than Mike Smith? Yup. Did Carolina play a second-string goalie? Yup. Is he better than Mike Smith? Yup. Did New York play a second-string goalie? Yup. Is he better than Mike Smith? Yup. Because the teams in front of them are helping them. Depth, folks. LA. Let's talk about LA. LA, for a team that has had so many challenges and problems this year with injuries all up and down the lineup, are one of the best in the NHL at generating chances. They just don't score on those chances, but they have been taking full advantage of that in this series. I got a buddy named Dave, and I said, Dave, you don't want to play LA. He says, we want LA. I said, you don't want LA. He said, we want LA. And I went, all right, whatever, man. Enjoy LA. But they have some of the best underlying statistics in the NHL, and they are a very dangerous team because they are tricky and unassuming. I still thought Edmonton was going to win this one in a sweep or in 5 because the scoring firepower of Edmonton in the transition game is so good, and we saw it in their 2 wins. Why don't we get to see it for 5? When you rely on 2 players, they're going to have off nights or challenges at times, but they had some beautiful goals today. Give credit to McDavid and Draisaitl where credit is due. They put the world on their back today, and they did their job. They earned their paycheck. Is that paycheck avoiding the team from getting depth? Probably, considering they're paid more than the entire perfection line. But again, argument for another day. They're punching the clock and they're making their money, and they are earning it right now with play like this. The Zach Kassian goal, I could have scored that because of what McDavid did. It was beautiful. Connor McDavid on the power play, absolutely filthy. Leon Draisaitl shorthanded, a 3-on-2 shorty, loved it. The guts to push forward when you're down, it was amazing. Power play goal by Draisaitl, get to overtime, let's go boys. Kempe ends up putting it in with this. Edmonton falls and trips on a sniper. What is a sniper? It's someone in the stands that throws a rock at your player and they end up falling down. Not an actual rock, but it's a way players justify the fact that they fell on nothing. LA ends up turning it around. We see a terrible pinch here on the wall. Just awful. LA is going to skate past them, make them look absolutely brutal. And this is Connor McDavid. How do you get past Connor McDavid? Only other than the fact that Connor McDavid is exhausted from putting the entire team on his back. Okay, Mr. Keith, why do you let him have a step on you? You shouldn't, but you do. Bad positioning again. Kempe makes 2 future Hall of Famers look slow and look old, and we know McDavid ain't old, and we know he ain't slow. Duncan Keith, different story. He ends up cutting in and around the hard way, and he pulls it through Mike Smith across the Royal Road. Look at that reach in. This is not a good effort by any of the Oilers on the ice, and he buries it. It's over. That is will versus skill if I have ever seen it. We think about it here in the second period as well, too. Duncan Keith with a huge cough up ends up eating ice, falling down. I love Duncan Keith. This hurts my heart to see Duncan Keith doing this. Beautiful turnover there by the LA Kings. LA is able to turn it up. Edmonton is in so much trouble here. They end up fumbling the puck, pulling it through. It sneaks through Smith's pads like, That's tough to watch if you're an Edmonton fan, and as an LA fan, woo! LA! I always knew we could do it. I'm not an LA fan. It's just the Jets jerseys behind there. I think I'm being funny. Edmonton again on goal 3 in the second period, getting out-muscled by the LA Kings. Brutal giveaway up the ice one more time. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The stick goes flying. My goodness, what a carnival. As that stick goes flying, let's reach in more, end up passing it down low, and that looks like something out of the Mighty Ducks. It looks like when the Hawks or Team Iceland pass it all around and go, "Are you looking for this, goalie?" and put it in. I can't believe I'm watching that in the NHL, but all the props in the world to LA for turning it over. This is what happens when you live in their zone and generate the chances they do. Eventually, they are going to go in. So that is the point I am making in this video. Edmonton has the scoring talent to turn this around, but the more I look at this and the more I think about this, and I've been thinking about this for a lot this year, I don't see how this team is going to compete with the likes of Calgary and Colorado, who have depth among depth among depth, because they keep tricking themselves into thinking they have depth. They don't. This is the example. It's the roller coaster. Hot, down, hot, cold. No one wants to play the Oilers going into the playoffs. Maybe they did. Sorry, Edmonton. I didn't mean to go any, too hard on you. That it is what it is. I love Oiler fans. I love the city of Edmonton. I love LA fans. I like LA. LA fans think I'm hard on them too. I just don't think either of these teams are elite. But hey, take solace in the fact that I told St. Louis and Minnesota fans that as well. The only teams I think that are strong in the West are Calgary and Colorado. And they may lose. And that's totally fine. But when we take a look at depth teams in the NHL, most of them are concentrated in the East. We also hate hearing that, but it's a pragmatic analysis and it's a correct analysis. We really thank you for being here, Edmonton and LA fans. We're going to catch you for Game 6.